So this actually, I was not planning to do this. This comes from Theodore Wolf. All right, so big question for you guys. Will Ahsoka join the Resistance in Star Wars Episode 9? So I'm going to read this. This is actually a comment that came from Theodore Wolf. I read it and I was like, I got to respond to this in video, because sometimes I'll read stuff and my mind is just like, just explode. Like the idea bomb is completely gone off, right? And I'm like, man, there are so many ways that I want to go with this and can talk about this, and it would be a cool thing to happen. So let me read what Theodore had to say. I appreciate you, dog, for sharing this with me in my comment section. So he says, so Prince, I have a new theory. I was reading from a certain point of view, specifically the one about Luke's aunt. In it, she explains how she initially was apprehensive about raising Luke, but she fell in love with him and raised him as her own. That was a good story, too. A few things dawned on me where Leia was given a new last name and sent to another world, whereas Luke was sent to his father's home world with his stepbrother in plain sight. They raised him as their own, but they never gave him their last name. This seems super obvious and a stupid thing to overlook. Had Vader ever decided to look into his family, he would have easily found Luke. I'm led to believe this might have been intended after all. Obi-Wan was also there, and if Vader had paid a visit, he would have sensed Obi-Wan before even arriving. My other connecting theory takes us to Rogue One, where Leia's father hints at Ahsoka Tano claiming a Jedi he trusts, gave him advice, and uses the pronoun she. What if, like Obi-Wan, she had up until a certain point, Rebels area, been stationed near Leia on Alderaan to watch over young Leia? We know Bail was very close and heavily involved in forming the Rebel fleet. Leia had surely crossed paths with her multiple times. Ahsoka Tano, if she is still alive during the events of The Last Jedi, could be part of the allies Leia was reaching out to. The one flaw in what Theodore is saying is that when Bail is hinting at claiming a Jedi he trusts, he was talking about Obi-Wan, right? It was Mon Mothma's like, yo, I think it's time, you get your Jedi friend. And he was like, well, I'm going to have someone I trust, that I trust with my life, go and retrieve him. That was Leia's mission, right? She had the Death Star plans. She was going after Obi-Wan. She wasn't going to find Ahsoka. During the time in Rogue One, we don't really know where Ahsoka is. I mean, we know she's alive now. We know who all survived. We know that Sabine stayed. I'm under the impression Sabine stayed on Ezra's planet. What's Ezra's home world? I was under the impression that Sabine stayed there and Ahsoka probably did too. But Ahsoka would have wanted to stay out off the map, right? Because the Empire believes that she died, that Vader killed her. So after she left, after everything that went down on Malachor, at that point, Bail has no further contact with Ahsoka. She probably wanted to remain a secret. So there's a question there, when Ahsoka finally came out of hiding. When did she leave Malachor and return to did she, when we see her walk up with the staff in the cloak, that could be, and that was, I'm under the impression that was after everything is finally wrapped up, right? That epilogue of Star Wars Rebels. She could have stayed, done her I'm one with the Force is with me there on Malachor, or found some other Jedi temple that only she would have known about, that the Empire hadn't messed up yet, because there were some out there, and she could have just stayed in hiding until everything had wrapped up, and then, okay, now I'm coming out and I'm linking up with Sabine and we're going to look for Ezra, right? So I don't think that Bail was talking about Ahsoka. I don't think that Ahsoka would have been watching over young Leia, but I think they could have crossed paths, right? Now the question is, why would Ahsoka have not sensed that Leia was Anakin Skywalker's offspring, or that Leia was strong with the Force. I don't know. I don't think the Force works that way. But just, oh, the Force is strong with her. But Ahsoka, having read the Ahsoka Tano novel, you look at that and it's like, it's dangerous for her to train Leia, right? It's because then what all is going to happen? And then this is House Organa, and she's already crossing paths with the Emperor, with Palpatine, right? It's dangerous for her to be trained. It's better for her to not know anything about her Force sensitivity or her strong connection to the Force. Even if it is extremely strong, it's still dangerous for her to be trained. So, if they did cross paths, and if they're both running around on Alderaan and she's working for Bail, and but then that raises another set of questions, right? She's Fulcrum. She is the one that's really kind of out there. Leia didn't even know what Bail was doing with the Resistance until she was a teenager. She didn't know what her parents were really doing, right? That's in the Leia, that novel that Claudia Gray wrote. I haven't read all of it, so I got a long list of reading that I need to get caught up on over the holidays. But I think that if Ahsoka had been mentioned in that book, I would like to think that enough people would have made enough noise where I would know something about it. And the only thing I know is, that first planet that was in Rogue One. Yeah, Leia went there, and then that's where she linked up with Holdo, and they became friends. Like I said, I think there's a possibility that Leia and Ahsoka's paths cross. Now, this is where I got excited about this, right? That the allies that Leia's reaching out to, that Ahsoka could be among those allies. If she's still alive, we don't know what the lifespan of a Togruta is, right? But maybe Ahsoka, Sabine, they're all around the same age. Sabine would be old now. Not old, but she'd be old. She was a few years older than Luke and Leia. They're old. Sabine, Ezra could be out there. Leia has met Ezra. She has crossed paths. Maybe they all, once everything's wrapped up, they all come back into the fold. Those are other stories and other tales that we'll have to wait and find out. Unfortunately, we don't know. But I would like to think, this is where I got excited about this. Now, I don't know if Ahsoka would turn up in episode 9. I have a fear of too much stuff trying to happen, right? If the Jedi stuff, the Force stuff, is going to be strictly contained to Rey and Kylo Ren, as much as I want other people to come out, what's up with the broom boy, Tamiri Bragg, is that his name or something like that? Is Finn, is he not? What if Rose could be Force sensitive? What if Poe is? I would like to see the movie end with, there are other people who have the Force and they can choose whatever paths they want to choose. There are people who aren't strong with the Force, but they want to choose the path of following one of these religions and being like a guardian of the will, or some of the other religions that were introduced in Rogue One on the Jedha moon, right? I would like to see just the idea of these different ways of knowing the Force being a part of the Star Wars stories moving forward, right? Other Force users, who do other stuff. We didn't get much of the Night Sisters. They all got wiped out. But there you go. That's a different path already, right? They viewed the Force in a very shamanistic way, and they weren't Darksiders, because their religion was based around the daughter and the son, right? And it was based on whatever thing you needed to accomplish. That was how you used your magic. It is a very different way of looking at the Force, and I would like to see that explored. And Ahsoka is another path. She learned the ways of the Jedi, but the Jedi, the organization, wasn't for her. And then just her exposure to the son and the daughter on Mortis, and the relationship that she now has with the daughter, and with her little spirit creature, the little owl thing, what is it, the Convery, her relationship to her Convery spirit creature. She's got a completely different way understanding the Force than any Jedi has ever had, outside of Obi-Wan and Anakin and Luke, right? Because Luke started learning from everyone, and maybe Ahsoka did that same thing. So what I got excited about was that I really don't think episode 9 is going to wrap up with the end of the war. I think this war is going to spill out, and these other projects, these other trilogies that are going to deal with the First Order, the war, the aftermath. Maybe another group rises up while everybody's fighting. Who knows? I mean, even the Star Wars theme park, right now it's being set up on a planet where the First Order is a threat there. And I'm like, if you're putting all this money into this theme park and the First Order is going to be running around there, well, by the time the theme park opens, I think the saga is going to be over with, right? So, it's like, well, why are we talking about the First Order? I don't think that the war is going to end in 9. And so where I was going with that is I think that, yes, maybe Ahsoka is among Leia's allies, and her presence might be felt in one of these other movies, right? All the people that aren't happy with Rian Johnson with what he did, but what if Ahsoka Tano turns up and what he's working on, and she's bringing up a new group of Force users who have Jedi teachings, but there's something else, right? They have Jedi teachings and other things that Ahsoka's learned. However much time she spent in that Sith temple on Malachor, whatever she's learned there about the dark side, maybe she might say, hey, there's some necessary evils, right? Like the Ancient One in Doctor Strange. She was like, look, I had to use this dark magic, Dormammu, whatever he is, right? So that I could prolong my life to be able to fight him, right? And, necessary evil, right? So I don't know, but I think I would love to see this. I would love to see Ahsoka join the Resistance, and maybe she doesn't turn up in episode 9, but she turns up later on and joins the fight. Or the people, whatever she's been doing, if she finds Ezra, I want to see Ahsoka Tano, her presence somewhere else later on in the timeline. You can't just stop like, oh, Ahsoka and Sabine are going to look for Ezra. That's it. Story closed, right? She had to have touched some other people. Saw Gerrera was one of them. We saw what he did. And then Jyn Erso. And then the Partisans, right? And then we start reading the comic books, these new comic books. And some of the Partisans are still alive. And they've been helping Luke Skywalker and the Rebellion, right? They're still continuing. They might turn up somewhere else later on in what we're seeing now, right? And so there's Saw Gerrera's presence was started by Ahsoka and Anakin and Obi-Wan. So I totally feel like, Leia reaching out to these allies. I feel like if it's not Ahsoka, it's someone that Ahsoka has taught, has trained, has come into contact with, is inspired to join this fight against the tyranny that is the First Order. So this was a great comment, and it is something that I would really love to see happen in the saga, right? Ahsoka is a great character, and she's great not just because she's great, but because of what she did. She left the Jedi Order, she walked away, and then it's like when she comes back and she's like Ahsoka the Grey now, it's like, yo, man, like we thought you were dead. We thought you were dead twice. I mean, originally nobody thought she was going to survive Order 66, and then she does somehow, and it's like, well, how did she survive? What happened? And then we learn how it happened, and then it's like, oh, she fought Vader, and the temple blew up, and Vader, there's no way she could beat Vader. And then we see her going back into the temple, and it's like, well, what happened? And then there's like this world between worlds that exists outside of time and space. And Ezra snatched Ahsoka out of there a year later, or 2 years later. Was it a year or 2 years? 2 years later, and it was like, yo, dog, like what just happened? Like, well, so what just happened? So we saw her walking back in. It was because she got pulled out of the timeline and then went back in time to that spot after she should have died, but she didn't. And it's like, man, this is a complete mind freak, right? And so it's like Ahsoka's amazing, and I want to know how her story continues. What is she doing? And and I hope she's still around to join this fight. And I mean, at the end of the day, they got to find some kind of way to either bring Ahsoka in a live action story or put her in something, because y'all created this character. And if you're going to continue with, this is the aftermath, and this is Luke's, this is how things turn out for Anakin, this is how things turn out for Luke, and now here's Kylo Ren, he's their legacy. You gave us Ahsoka, where's her legacy? You gave us Ezra. People hated Ezra just like they hated Ahsoka, but now they want more. So y'all got to bring him out, Lucasfilm. Bring him out, bring him out. It's hard to yell when the lightsaber hilt's in your mouth. Bring him out. That's all I got to say on this one. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click on that subscribe button so that you can take your first steps towards becoming an urban acolyte. Embark on the journey of becoming the hero of your own story and become a force for change in your community. Make sure to check out more videos from this channel, especially the one that YouTube has recommended for you. Anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the force of others be with you. Always.